Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoy another tale that spawns from what left of my brain. Please like and subscribe. Everyone thought I was plotting revenge against the fake heir. I was actually opening a taco truck until his fiancée started spying on me. Main story. When I was thrown out of the Mercer estate, the family butler handed me a suitcase and a warning. Young Master Noah. He hesitated over the title. You've already embarrassed Chairman Mercer enough. Please don't make things harder for yourself. I looked down at the suitcase. Inside were 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, and a check for $10,000. That was the grand farewell gift from the family that had spent 20 years searching for their biological son. Not bad. At least they didn't charge me rent for the guest house. The front gates slowly opened. Standing beside them was Adrian Mercer. The fake heir. The golden child. The family's pride and joy. The man everyone loved. His expression was full of concern. Noah. I almost laughed. Adrian only used that voice when people were watching. Are you sure you don't want to stay? He asked softly. The maids nearby looked at him with admiration. How caring. How kind. How generous. What a wonderful brother. As if he hadn't personally orchestrated half the disasters that got me kicked out. I adjusted my backpack. I'm good. His smile twitched. He clearly hadn't expected that answer. In every previous fight I'd argued. I'd defended myself. I'd tried proving my innocence. I'd begged people to believe me. Now, I was tired. Completely exhausted. Adrian lowered his voice. You know Father only wants what's best for the family. You should think about your future. You can't survive on your own. Probably. His forehead actually wrinkled. I could practically see the calculation failing inside his brain. After all, I wasn't following the script anymore. The old Noah would have exploded. This version. I was mostly wondering whether the Chinese restaurant across town was still hiring delivery drivers. Adrian finally forced out a smile. Take care of yourself. I gave him a thumbs up. You too. Then I walked away. The Mercer family never called. Not the father who considered me an embarrassment. Not the mother who cried every time someone mentioned what I'd suffered before finding them. Not because she felt guilty. Because guilt made her uncomfortable. And certainly not Sophia Lancaster. Adrian's fiancée. The future daughter-in-law. The woman who looked at me like I was gum stuck to an expensive shoe. Honestly, I couldn't blame her. She'd only seen the version of me that existed inside Adrian's stories. And according to those stories, I was practically a comic book villain. Jealous, manipulative, desperate, obsessed with stealing Adrian's place. The truth didn't matter. The truth never stood a chance against somebody people actually liked. 3 weeks later, I used most of my $10,000 to buy a broken food truck. The owner thought I was insane. You sure? He asked. The vehicle looked like it had survived a small war. Rust covered every surface. One door wouldn't close. Another wouldn't open. The engine made sounds that suggested divine intervention was required. I nodded. Perfect. The owner stared. You serious? Yep. What are you planning to do with it? I looked at the truck thoughtfully. Fish tacos. The man looked genuinely concerned for my mental health. 2 days later, Sophia Lancaster arrived to spy on me. I knew because she was terrible at it. Absolutely awful. Embarrassingly bad. I spotted her less than 3 minutes after opening the truck. She was sitting inside a luxury sedan parked directly across the street, wearing enormous sunglasses, holding a newspaper upside down. I stared. She stared back. Then she quickly lifted the newspaper higher. The paper was still upside down. Amazing. I walked over and knocked on the window. Sophia nearly jumped through the roof. The glass slowly rolled down. "What are you doing here?" Her expression remained perfectly calm. "I was in the neighborhood." I glanced around. We were in an industrial district. The nearest luxury boutique was 20 miles away. "Right." She pointed at my truck. "What are you doing?" "Running a business." "No." She narrowed her eyes. "What are you really doing?" I looked at the truck, then at her, then back at the truck. "Selling tacos." Sophia obviously didn't believe me. Actually, her expression suggested she thought I was plotting the collapse of Western civilization. Interesting. The next day she returned. Then the day after that. Then the day after that. By the end of the week, she knew more about my taco truck schedule than I did. Finally, on Friday afternoon, she stormed across the parking lot. "Stop wasting my time." I blinked. "What?" "The truck." "What about it?" "The secret meetings." "What secret meetings?" "The deliveries." I stared. Understanding slowly dawned. She thought I was planning revenge. The realization almost made me laugh. "Oh." Sophia folded her arms. "Adrian says you're gathering investors." "Technically true." "I knew it. He loaned me $500. Sophia frowned. "What?" I pointed toward an old man, currently eating free tacos beside the truck. "He loaned me $500. Silence. The old man waved. "Great tacos." "Thanks." Sophia looked confused. The old man waved again. "Tell your wife these are excellent." Sophia choked. "We're not married." The old man squinted. "Oh." He looked at me. "You sure?" I nodded. "Very." The old man shrugged. "My mistake." Then he went back to eating. Sophia's face was bright red. For some reason, that was the funniest thing I'd seen in months. The real problem started a week later. The truck broke down. Again. I was lying underneath it, covered in grease, questioning every life decision that had led me here. The engine made one final metallic crunch, then stopped entirely. Wonderful. A shadow appeared above me. Sophia. Again. At this point, I was starting to suspect she had more free time than the CEO of a billionaire family should. "What happened?" "The truck died." She looked at the vehicle, then at me, then back at the vehicle. "Can it be fixed?" "Eventually." "How much?" I named the number. Her eyes widened. "That's expensive." I noticed. To my surprise, she sat down on the curb beside me. Neither of us spoke for a while. Traffic moved past. The afternoon sun dipped lower. For the first time, Sophia seemed uncertain. Not judgmental. Not cold. Just confused. Finally she asked, "Why are you doing this?" I wiped grease from my hands. "Doing what?" "All of it." Her gaze stayed fixed on me. "You spent 2 years fighting for your place in the Mercer family." I laughed softly. "And where did that get me?" She fell silent. Exactly. Where did it get me? Humiliation. Accusations. Rejection. A permanent headache. I leaned back against the truck. People keep thinking I'm planning something. Sophia didn't deny it. Maybe because everyone expects you to be angry. I was. I looked up at the evening sky. Then I got tired. That answer seemed to hit her harder than I expected, because she stared at me for a very long time, as if trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the villain she'd imagined. A phone suddenly rang. Sophia answered. A familiar voice exploded through the speaker. Even from several feet away, I recognized Adrian immediately. Sophia, where are you? There was concern in his voice. Too much concern. The performative kind. Sophia glanced at me. I'm out. Are you with Noah? Interesting. Not hello. Not how was your day. Straight to me. I watched her expression carefully. For the first time, she seemed bothered by that. Why? Long pause. Then Adrian laughed. Nervous. Nervous about what? That he'll manipulate you. Sophia's gaze shifted toward me again. I was currently covered in motor oil and holding a wrench. Truly a terrifying criminal mastermind. Something changed in her expression. Just slightly. Just enough. The first crack. The first tiny fracture in the perfect picture Adrian had spent years creating. She ended the call. Neither of us mentioned it. But for the first time since we'd met, she stayed another hour. And when she finally left, she quietly said, "Good luck with the truck." I watched her drive away, then looked down at the dead engine. Thanks. A pause. Hopefully the truck heard that too. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Unfortunately for me, that tiny crack in Adrian's story was about to become a disaster. And Sophia Lancaster was going to uncover something neither of us expected. The first sign something was wrong came from a taco, which, in retrospect, was not how I expected my life to change. I was standing inside the food truck, trying to figure out why the fryer was making noises that sounded suspiciously like a dying whale. Outside, customers waited. Inside, I was losing a battle against cooking oil. The fryer hissed. I hissed back. The fryer won. Fantastic. A familiar voice appeared behind me. Do all of your appliances hate you? I didn't need to turn around. Sophia. I take offense to that. You've visited 12 days in a row. That's not true. I looked at her. 11. She paused. Maybe. I nodded. Thought so. For some reason, the tips of her ears turned red. Recently, Sophia had started showing up so often that customers assumed she worked there. One man even asked if she was my manager. She looked deeply offended, then spent 2 hours helping organize inventory, which was absolutely something a manager would do. Women were strange, especially rich women. Business was actually improving. A miracle. Not a big miracle. A small miracle. Like surviving a shark attack only to get bitten by a goldfish. But still progress. The local mechanics liked my food. Construction workers liked my food. Even the old man with the $500 loan liked my food. Life wasn't terrible. For once. Which should have been my first warning. Whenever life stopped being terrible, the Mercer family usually appeared to fix that. Sure enough, that afternoon, a black luxury sedan pulled into the parking lot. Adrian stepped out. Customers immediately noticed him. How could they not? Perfect hair, perfect suit, perfect smile. He looked like the cover of a business magazine. Standing beside my rust-covered truck, he looked almost unreal. Sophia visibly stiffened. Interesting. Adrian smiled warmly. Noah. I sighed, already exhausted. What? A tiny crack flashed across his face before disappearing. Sophia caught it. I noticed because her eyes narrowed. Just slightly. Adrian's voice remained gentle. I wanted to check on you. I'm alive. That's good. Anything else? His smile strained. The old Noah would have been thrilled by a visit. Current Noah wanted to finish serving tacos. Behind Adrian, several people were whispering, probably recognizing him. The famous Mercer heir. Future CEO. Golden son. Everything I wasn't. For some reason, that thought barely bothered me anymore. Adrian glanced at Sophia, then at the truck, then back at me. His expression softened. You know, father has been worried. I almost dropped my spatula. Sophia looked equally shocked. Worried, I repeated. Of course. Adrian sounded sincere. You're still family. That was almost impressive. The man could lie while maintaining eye contact. A genuine talent. Sophia was staring at him now. Not with affection. With confusion. The second crack. A tiny one. But growing. That night Sophia couldn't stop thinking about it. At least that's what she later told me. Because something about Adrian's behavior hadn't made sense. For years she had listened to stories about me. The jealous brother. The manipulative brother. The unstable brother. Yet every time she actually saw me, the evidence never matched. I wasn't plotting revenge. I wasn't trying to steal Adrian's position. I wasn't even trying to reconnect with the family. Honestly, she found me repairing kitchen equipment more often than anything else. The contradictions were piling up. Eventually, curiosity won. And curiosity can be a dangerous thing, especially inside rich people's mansions. The Mercer estate had over 70 rooms. Most weren't used. Some hadn't been opened in years. Sophia knew this because she practically lived there now. A future daughter-in-law learned things. One evening she arrived for dinner. Adrian was attending a charity event. Mr. Mercer was traveling. Mrs. Mercer had retired early. The mansion felt unusually empty. That should have been the end of it. Instead, she noticed something strange. A storage room near the west wing was open. Slightly. Just enough to catch her attention. Sophia slowed. The room was supposed to be locked. Always. She knew because she'd asked about it once. A maid had immediately changed the subject. Now the door stood ajar. A sliver of light escaped through the gap. For reasons she couldn't explain, Sophia stepped closer. Then pushed the door open. Inside was dust. Boxes. Old furniture. And dozens of photo albums. Sophia frowned. Family records. Nothing remarkable. At least not initially. Then she saw a name written across one box. Noah. She froze. Why would old storage boxes be labeled with my name? Curiosity won again. Slowly, she opened the first container. Inside were school trophies, certificates, drawings, report cards, letters. The room suddenly felt very quiet. Sophia picked up a report card. Perfect grades. Another. Perfect grades. Another. Same thing. She grabbed more. Every single one showed outstanding marks. Awards. Scholarships. Academic competitions. Community programs. Volunteer work. Sophia's confusion deepened. That wasn't possible. She had spent years hearing stories about how irresponsible and lazy I was. Yet the documents in front of her painted an entirely different picture. A hardworking student. The complete opposite person. Then she found the letters. And everything changed. The first letter was from a private academy. A scholarship acceptance. The second was another scholarship. Then another. And another. Many had never been opened. Sophia's stomach tightened. Why? She looked closer. The addresses weren't right. Every single letter had been sent to the Mercer estate. Years after I arrived. Years before I'd been thrown out. Yet the envelopes remained sealed. Hidden. Forgotten. Or deliberately stored away. Sophia continued digging. Her hands began shaking. At the bottom of the box she found something else. A folder. Thin. Plain. Ordinary. Inside were security reports. Dozens of them. The dates made her heart race. Incidents she remembered. Arguments. Accidents. Events that supposedly proved I was targeting Adrian. Sophia flipped through the pages. Then stopped breathing. The footage summaries didn't match the stories at all. One report described Adrian entering a room alone before a vase mysteriously shattered. Another showed him deleting portions of camera recordings. A third mentioned damaged files. Missing footage. Restricted access. Sophia stared at the papers. No. That wasn't possible. Adrian couldn't have. Could he? The room felt smaller now. Harder to breathe inside. She kept reading. Every page created another crack. Another contradiction. Another question. By the time she finished, the perfect image Adrian had spent years constructing looked alarmingly fragile. Then she discovered the final secret. And this one hurt the most. At the bottom of the box sat a worn notebook. The cover was faded. The corners damaged. Sophia recognized my handwriting immediately. A journal. She hesitated. Then opened it. The first pages were hopeful. Embarrassingly hopeful. Talk about finding family. Starting over. Having parents. Having a home. Sophia kept reading. The handwriting gradually changed. Became messier. Less energetic. More tired. One entry stopped her completely. Today Mom remembered Adrian's birthday. Nobody remembered mine. It's okay, they only met me recently. Another entry. I think Sophia hates me. Maybe Adrian said something. Maybe everyone says something. I should try harder. Sophia pressed a trembling hand against her mouth. She turned another page. Then another. The optimism slowly disappeared. Hope turning into exhaustion. Exhaustion turning into resignation. The final completed entry was short. Painfully short. I think I've finally figured it out. The problem isn't that they don't know me. The problem is they already chose him. Maybe nobody is wrong. Maybe I just came home too late. Sophia stared at the words. The room blurred. For years she had believed Adrian's stories. Every accusation. Every explanation. every carefully crafted misunderstanding. Now she wasn't sure what was true anymore. The worst part. The notebook didn't sound angry. It wasn't vengeful. It wasn't manipulative. It sounded lonely. Terribly lonely. And somehow that was worse. A floorboard creaked behind her. Sophia jumped. Mrs. Mercer stood in the doorway. Pale. Shocked. Terrified. Her gaze fixed on the notebook. For several long seconds, neither woman spoke. Finally, Mrs. Mercer whispered, "You weren't supposed to find that." Sophia slowly stood. "What is all this?" The older woman looked toward the boxes, toward the awards, toward the letters, toward the forgotten pieces of a son she'd never truly known. Tears appeared in her eyes. "He used to leave those things on my desk." Sophia felt ice crawl down her spine. "What?" "The awards." Mrs. Mercer's voice cracked. "The certificates." She slowly sank into a chair. "I kept meaning to look at them." The silence stretched, then stretched longer, until finally the truth emerged. Quietly, brokenly, painfully. But Adrian always had something more important. Sophia felt sick. Really sick. Not because the confession was dramatic. Because it was ordinary. Small. Human. The kind of neglect that happened one day at a time. One forgotten moment after another. Until eventually a person stopped trying. Mrs. Mercer stared at the journal. Her face had gone white. "I didn't know he wrote that." Sophia looked down at the pages. Neither had she. And suddenly she couldn't stop remembering. The taco truck. The jokes. The indifference. The way I never spoke badly about the family. The way I looked relieved to leave. Not angry. Relieved. As though being rejected had simply confirmed something I already knew. Sophia closed the notebook. Her heart felt strangely heavy. Because for the first time she realized something terrifying. Maybe the person everyone called the villain had never been fighting for the inheritance. Maybe he'd only been fighting for a family. And maybe he'd lost long before anyone noticed. Outside the storage room, somewhere in the mansion, a phone began ringing. Neither woman moved. Because both of them had just discovered a secret capable of destroying everything. And neither was prepared for what would happen when Adrian learned the truth had been found. Adrian knew about the storage room before dinner was served. Sophia realized this when he arrived home 40 minutes early. He entered the dining room wearing the same effortless smile he wore for interviews, charity events, and people whose opinions mattered. His tie was perfectly straight. His hair hadn't moved despite the wind outside. There wasn't a single wrinkle in his pale gray suit. The man looked polished enough to be placed inside a display case. Only his eyes were wrong. They went first to his mother, then to Sophia, then to the faint line of dust on the sleeve of Sophia's dress. The smile remained. His gaze changed. "You're here early," Sophia said. Adrian kissed her cheek. The gesture looked affectionate. It felt like an inspection. The charity committee finished sooner than expected. Mrs. Mercer lowered her eyes to her plate. Sophia noticed. Adrian noticed her noticing. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The dining room table could seat 24 people. Tonight there were only 3. Somehow, the empty chairs made the silence worse. A maid poured wine. Her hand trembled slightly. Adrian thanked her with his usual warmth. Then he waited until she left. "I heard there was a problem in the West Wing." Mrs. Mercer gripped her fork. Sophia calmly lifted her glass. What kind of problem? The storage room was opened. Adrian's voice remained gentle. Apparently, someone misplaced the key. Sophia took a sip. How careless. His smile deepened. Very. Mrs. Mercer's fork scraped against the plate. The sound was painfully loud. Adrian turned toward her. Mother, are you feeling well? Perfectly. You look pale. I'm tired. Then you should rest. For a moment, something passed between them. It wasn't affection. It wasn't concern. It was a warning. Sophia had seen Adrian manipulate people before. She simply hadn't recognized it as manipulation. He never raised his voice. Never issued threats. Never made demands. He asked thoughtful questions. Offered gentle suggestions. Created situations where the other person felt foolish for resisting him. It was elegant. Sophisticated. Almost invisible. Noah would have hated it. The thought appeared unexpectedly. Sophia looked down at her food. Why was she thinking about Noah? Worse, why was she suddenly imagining what he would say? Probably something rude. Something like, "Careful, if Adrian smiles any harder, his face might crack." Sophia nearly smiled. Adrian noticed. Something funny. She looked up. No. You seem distracted. I found some interesting reading material. Mrs. Mercer's wineglass tipped. Red wine spilled across the white tablecloth. The maid hurried back into the room. Adrian didn't even glance at the spreading stain. His eyes remained on Sophia. What did you read? A family history. Did you? Yes. Sophia placed her napkin beside her plate. It wasn't the version I'd heard before. There it was. The smallest possible change. Adrian's fingers tightened around the stem of his glass. Anybody else would have missed it. Sophia didn't. Not anymore. Adrian leaned back. Families are complicated. So are lies. Mrs. Mercer whispered her name. Sophia. Adrian laughed softly. Not because anything was funny. Because laughter made people relax. Usually. Tonight it didn't work. I'm not sure what you're accusing me of. I haven't accused you of anything. Not directly. Then perhaps you shouldn't be so nervous. His smile finally vanished. Only for a second. But 1 second was enough. Sophia saw the man underneath. Cold. Calculating. Angry. Then the charming Adrian returned. Perfectly composed. Perfectly reasonable. You've been spending time with Noah. It wasn't a question. Sophia looked at him. I've seen him. At the food truck. Yes. He can be persuasive. Mostly, he complains about his fryer. Adrian blinked. What? His fryer, it makes a terrible noise. Mrs. Mercer looked between them, thoroughly confused. Sophia continued. Last Tuesday, it stopped working during lunch. Noah called it a mechanical betrayal. Adrian's expression tightened. I don't care about his kitchen equipment. Then why bring him up? Because you're allowing him to influence you. Sophia almost laughed. Influence her. Noah had barely tried to convince her to order the spicy sauce. When she'd asked why he didn't defend himself against the Mercer family's accusations, he shrugged and handed her a taco. Adrian, meanwhile, couldn't survive one dinner without controlling the conversation. The difference was becoming impossible to ignore. I should go, Sophia said. Adrian stood. We haven't finished dinner. I have. She walked from the room. Adrian followed. Of course he did. He caught up near the front doors. Sophia. His hand closed around her wrist. Not painfully. Not quite. But firmly enough to stop her. She looked down at his fingers. He released her immediately. I'm sorry. No, you're not. His face softened. The expression had probably worked on her 100 times. Tonight it looked rehearsed. Noah wants you to doubt me. Noah hasn't mentioned you once. That landed harder than she expected. Adrian stared at her. For the first time, he looked genuinely hurt. Or perhaps offended. To Adrian, hatred would have made sense. Jealousy would have made sense. A revenge scheme would have restored the natural order of his world. But Noah's indifference, that was unbearable. Sophia gently adjusted her sleeve. Good night, Adrian. He watched her walk through the doors. She didn't look back. If she had, she would have seen him standing beneath the chandelier, his pleasant expression completely gone. And she might have noticed Mrs. Mercer watching him from the dining room. Not with pride. Not with love. With fear. The next morning, I learned two important things. First, the truck's electrical system had apparently been repaired by someone who hated electricity. Second, Sophia Lancaster had no idea how to dress for manual labor. She arrived at 8 wearing cream-colored trousers, a silk blouse, and shoes that probably cost more than my truck. I stared at her. She stared back. I pointed at her shoes. Those are going to die here. They'll be fine. They're white. I know what color they are. Do you? Sophia folded her arms. Are you always this irritating before breakfast? Usually I'm worse. She looked around the parking lot. The truck's front panel was open. Tools were scattered across the pavement. A large cardboard box sat beside the rear wheel. What are you doing? Attempting mechanical resurrection. Do you know how? No. That seems dangerous. Only if I make a mistake. Do you know what a mistake looks like? Usually there's smoke. As if summoned by the word, a thin gray puff rose from beneath the dashboard. Sophia took 2 steps back. I grabbed the fire extinguisher. The smoke stopped. We looked at each other. That, I said, was a warning. From the truck. From God. She rubbed her forehead. Move. I blinked. What? Move. Sophia placed her purse on the passenger seat, tied back her hair, and crouched beside the open panel. I watched in disbelief as she examined the wires. After a moment she pointed. That connection is loose. How do you know? My grandfather restored antique cars. And he taught you. He believed every Lancaster should know how to repair a machine, fire an employee, and identify a bad investment. That is the richest sentence I've ever heard. Sophia ignored me. She worked for 20 minutes. I handed her tools. Mostly the wrong ones. Each time she gave me a more irritated look. Eventually she held out her hand without turning around. Phillips' screwdriver. I gave her a wrench. She looked at it. Then at me. Do you want your truck fixed? Very much. Then stop helping. Understood. I went inside and made breakfast. 10 minutes later, the engine started. Cleanly. No groaning. No metallic shriek. No smoke. I stood completely still. Sophia wiped her hands on an old towel. There. I looked at the dashboard. then at her, then back at the dashboard. Are you a witch? No. That's exactly what a witch would say. She laughed. It surprised both of us. Sophia's usual laugh was polite. Soft. Controlled. This one wasn't. This one escaped before she could stop it. It made her look younger. Less like the future Mrs. Mercer. More like a real person. She quickly composed herself. I pretended not to notice. Breakfast. I handed her a plate. She looked down. Is this a taco? Technically, it's 8:30 in the morning. The taco doesn't know that. Inside were eggs, potatoes, cheese, and the least spicy sauce I owned. Sophia took a bite. Her expression changed. Well, she swallowed. It's acceptable. That's devastating. I said it was acceptable. No, I heard you. I'm trying to process the praise. It wasn't praise. Coming from you, it practically counts as a marriage proposal. She stopped chewing. I stopped talking. A strange silence settled between us. Then a car horn sounded from the street. We both looked away. Excellent timing. Thank you, mysterious driver. Sophia cleared her throat. You should take better care of your equipment. I should also have more money. She looked toward the worn truck. You bought it with the check from the Mercers. Most of it. Why a food truck? That question again. People asked it like there had to be a secret answer. A grand plan. A business strategy. Something that would make the decision respectable. I sat on the step beneath the service window. When I was 16, I worked behind a grocery store. Sophia waited. The owner ran a small grill during lunch. Burgers, sandwiches, tacos, nothing special. I looked down at my hands. He let me take home whatever didn't sell. Were you living alone? Mostly. She didn't ask what mostly meant. I appreciated that. Those were some of the few meals I didn't have to worry about earning. He'd always pretend he'd cooked too much by accident. A memory rose unexpectedly. An old grill. A cracked red counter. A man with gray hair yelling because I tried to thank him. Stop looking at me like that, kid. The food expires tomorrow. It had never expired the next day. Not once. I rubbed my palms together. When I had nowhere else to go, I thought about him. Sophia's voice softened. So you bought the truck. I bought the cheapest truck available. That isn't quite as sentimental. I try not to overdo it. She sat beside me. Her expensive trousers touched the dusty pavement. She didn't seem to care. For a while we ate in silence. Then she asked the question that changed the morning. Did you receive scholarship offers while living at the Mercer estate? My hand stopped halfway to my mouth. I slowly lowered the taco. Why? I want to know. Sophia's tone was too careful. She already knew something. The question was whether I cared enough to find out what. Probably not. Some. How many? Not sure. Did you accept any? I answered the ones I received. Sophia's jaw tightened. What does that mean? It means exactly what I said. Did you know that several universities sent letters to the estate? No. Did you know those letters were placed in storage? I stared at her. Sophia watched my face, waiting for anger. Shock. Pain. Something dramatic. Instead, I looked down at my breakfast. Huh. Her eyes widened. Huh. That explains a few things. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say? Anything. All right. I took another bite. The potatoes need more salt. Sophia stood. Suddenly. Furiously. For one terrifying second, I thought she might throw the remaining taco at me. How can you sit there like this doesn't matter? Because it doesn't. Those letters could have changed your life. My life changed anyway. They hid opportunities from you. And now I sell fish tacos. That isn't the point. It is to me. Sophia stared down at me, angry on my behalf. That was new. Strange. A little uncomfortable. Nobody had ever done it before. They'd been angry at me, embarrassed by me, annoyed by me. I'd inspired many emotions. Protective outrage had not made the list. I looked away first. What else did you find? She froze. There it was. The secret behind the question. Sophia sat again, much more slowly this time. A notebook. Every muscle in my body tightened. I kept my voice flat. What notebook? Yours. I remembered it immediately. Blue cover. Worn binding. Pages filled by a younger, more foolish version of me. A boy who believed sincerity could fix anything. A boy who thought if he worked hard enough, spoke politely enough, and loved them patiently enough, the Mercers would eventually love him back. I had wondered where that notebook went. Apparently, even my humiliation had been placed in storage. Efficient. Sophia studied my expression. I'm sorry. For reading it. Yes. Did you read all of it? No. That meant yes. Interesting. You have every right to be angry. I'm considering charging you a reading fee. She closed her eyes. Noah. $10 per chapter. I am trying to apologize. Then 15. She stared at me. I couldn't help it. I smiled. Her shoulders dropped. Some of the tension left her face. Only some. I believed everything Adrian told me, she said. That's unfortunate. I judged you. Also unfortunate. I treated you terribly. Now we're getting somewhere. Her eyes flashed. Could you be serious for 1 minute? I looked at her. Really looked at her. There was no disgust in her face. No suspicion. Just guilt. And something else. Something warmer. More dangerous. I set the plate aside. If you're apologizing because you found out I earned a few awards, don't. It's not because of the awards. If it's because you read my sad little journal, definitely don't. It wasn't sad. It was extremely sad. It was honest. Even worse. Sophia exhaled. I'm apologizing because I decided who you were without ever speaking to you. I had no joke for that. Annoying. I always had a joke. She continued. And because I helped Adrian isolate you. You didn't know. I could have asked. You didn't owe me anything. Basic decency isn't something people should have to earn. That sentence landed in a place I preferred to keep empty. I stood. Mostly so I wouldn't have to look at her. Customers will be here soon. It was an obvious escape. Sophia let me take it. She rose and picked up the empty plates. What can I do? You. Yes. I pointed toward the folding tables. Set those up. She looked offended. That's all. Try not to injure anyone. I repaired your truck. And now you're overconfident. She carried the first table to the sidewalk. It unfolded unexpectedly and trapped one leg of her trousers between two metal bars. Sophia froze. I watched. She looked at me. Don't. I didn't say anything. Your face did. 30 seconds later, she was still trapped. I walked over. Need help? No. Of course not. Stop smiling. I'm not. You are. Only internally. She glared at me. I freed the fabric. The trousers survived with a dark streak across one leg. Sophia stared at the mark. I waited for horror. Instead, she laughed again. That uncontrolled, genuine laugh. And without warning, I joined her. For one ridiculous minute, we stood beside a rusty food truck, laughing over a dirty pair of trousers. Neither of us noticed the black sedan parked at the end of the street. Neither of us saw the camera pointed in our direction. By noon, every table was full. Sophia took orders. Badly. She wrote one man's name as Brian. His name was Steve. She gave a vegetarian customer a chicken taco, caught the mistake before he took a bite, then apologized so formally he looked afraid she might sue herself. The old man who had loaned me $500 watched her with delight. At one point, he pulled me aside. Your wife is improving. Not my wife. Fiancée. Not mine. Girlfriend. No. He narrowed his eyes. Are you sure? Fairly. You keep checking where she is. I immediately looked toward Sophia. She was arguing with the card reader. I looked back. The old man smiled smugly. I hated observant customers. She's engaged to my brother. His smile disappeared. Oh. Yes. The handsome one on television. Unfortunately. The old man considered this. Then glanced toward Sophia. She doesn't look at him the way she looks at you. I nearly walked directly into the truck. Eat your taco. I already did. Have another. I gave him one for free. A reasonable price for his silence. Unfortunately, he took the taco and continued talking. You know, when my wife and I met, she was dating my cousin. That story is not helping. My cousin still brings it up. Understandable. At Christmas mostly. I need to work. The heart goes where it goes. Please stop. He patted my shoulder. Good luck. I had never been so close to revoking somebody's taco privileges. At 2:13, Adrian made his first mistake. My phone rang while I was cleaning the grill. Unknown number. I nearly ignored it. Then Sophia's phone rang at the same time. We looked at each other. She answered hers. I answered mine. A distorted voice spoke. Is this Noah Mercer? No. The caller paused. Excuse me. My name is Noah Hale. Another pause. Apparently, refusing the family name was not part of the caller's script. Mr. Hale, I represent a buyer interested in acquiring your food truck. I stared at the cracked ceiling. Why? The buyer is prepared to offer you $50,000. I nearly dropped the phone. Across from me, Sophia's expression had gone cold. Someone was speaking rapidly through her phone. She turned away and began asking questions. I focused on my caller. $50,000. Cash. For this truck? Yes. Have they seen it? The offer is unconditional. That was suspicious. Very suspicious. Nobody with functioning eyes would pay $50,000 for my truck. Unless they weren't buying the truck. They were buying my disappearance. What happens after I sell? You'll sign a non-compete agreement. For how long? 10 years. I laughed. The caller didn't. The contract arrived by email 30 seconds later. I opened it. Long. Complicated. Filled with legal language. Yet one paragraph was remarkably clear. I wouldn't just be prohibited from selling food. I would be prohibited from operating any business within the city. From speaking publicly about the Mercer family. From contacting Mercer employees. From approaching the estate. And from communicating with Sophia Lancaster. I read the final line twice. Then a third time. Sophia ended her call. Her face had turned pale with anger. Who was that? I asked. A lawyer from Lancaster Holdings. What did they want? They claimed you approached my father for investment money. I've never met your father. I know. That's a surprisingly trusting answer. She held out her hand. Give me your phone. I handed it over. Sophia read the contract. By the time she reached the final page, her knuckles were white. Adrian sent this. You don't know that. Yes, I do. She pointed at a code in the document footer. This agreement was prepared by a firm Mercer Group uses for private settlements. Maybe they offer a loyalty discount. This isn't funny. It's a little funny. He is trying to pay you to disappear. Most people just stop returning my calls. Sophia looked at the truck. At the customers. At the little business I'd struggled to build. Her expression changed. She wasn't merely angry. She was ready for war. It was terrifying. Also, if I was being honest, slightly attractive. That was a problem for future Noah. Current Noah had a contract to decline. I took back the phone and typed one sentence. Offer rejected. The truck and I are emotionally codependent. Sophia read it. You're not sending that. I pressed send. Her mouth fell open. Why would you do that? It was honest. You could have negotiated. I don't want his money. $50,000 could repair the truck. Nothing can repair this truck. It has chosen its path. Sophia paced beside the counter. We need proof. Of what? That Adrian sent it. We. She stopped. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Sophia looked as though the word had escaped accidentally. Then she lifted her chin. Yes, we. I leaned against the counter. That's probably not a good idea. Why? You're engaged to him. At the moment. The air changed. Suddenly. Completely. I stared at her. Sophia stared back. Neither of us seemed prepared to examine what she just said. Thankfully, my phone buzzed. A new message. Not from the lawyer. From Adrian. You should have taken the offer. There it was. No pleasant voice. No carefully arranged misunderstanding. No brotherly concern. Just a threat disguised as advice. Sophia read the message over my shoulder. Her perfume was faint. Floral. Distracting. I stepped away. She didn't seem to notice. Now we have proof, she said. Proof he's bad at subtlety. Noah. I'm listening. Don't respond. I typed. She snatched the phone from my hand. What were you going to say? I was going to ask if he wanted a taco. Sophia stared at me in disbelief. Your brother is threatening you. He might be hungry. This is serious. My smile faded. Because she was right. Adrian had never been careless before. He'd always worked through other people. Used suggestions, rumors, convenient accidents. This direct message wasn't like him. It meant Sophia's visit to the storage room had frightened him. Fear made people reckless. Adrian had built his entire life on the family's belief that he was the better son. The kinder one. The worthy one. If that image broke, what remained? I had never cared enough to find out. Sophia apparently did. She looked at the phone again. The storage room wasn't just hiding your records. What do you mean? Her eyes met mine. There were security reports. My chest tightened. Reports about what? The incidents Adrian blamed on you. The parking lot seemed to go quiet. Customers still talked. Cars still passed. Oil still cracked on the grill. But those sounds suddenly felt far away. Sophia lowered her voice. Some recordings were deleted, others were altered. Adrian had access to the security system. I remembered a shattered vase, a missing watch, a damaged contract, Adrian's bruised wrist after he claimed I'd grabbed him, his eyes lowering bravely while my father shouted, his quiet insistence that he didn't want me punished. Every lie had been wrapped in mercy. That was why everyone believed him. I had spent years trying to prove each accusation false, never realizing the evidence might still exist. Where are the reports now? In the storage room. We need them. I took photographs. I stared at her. Sophia removed her phone. Dozens of images filled the screen. Dates, signatures, access logs, incident summaries. Enough to raise questions. Maybe enough to find answers. I looked at her differently then. Not as Adrian's fiancée. Not as the woman who had once believed the worst of me. As someone standing beside me. Someone who had quietly chosen a side. She noticed my expression. What? You're better at spying than you look. I wasn't spying. You wore sunglasses in a parked car and held a newspaper upside down. She flushed. That happened once. It created a lasting impression. I found the evidence, didn't I? By walking through an unlocked door. It was a sophisticated operation. Clearly. She hid the phone. Then her expression became serious again. Someone else knew about the altered footage. Who? The former head of security, Marcus Grant. The name was familiar. He'd left the Mercer estate 6 months before I did. Mrs. Mercer said he'd retired. Adrian said he'd been caught stealing. Apparently, the family had never agreed on which lie to use. Sophia continued. Marcus wrote the reports. If we find him, he may know what happened to the original recordings. And if he doesn't want to talk, I'll convince him. How? She gave me a cool smile. I'm a Lancaster. There it was again. The richest sentence imaginable. I picked up the order pad. Fine. Fine. We'll find him. Sophia blinked. You're agreeing. I want the recordings. I thought none of this mattered. It didn't. What changed? I glanced at the customers sitting beneath the patched awning. At the truck I'd bought with the last of the Mercer money. At the life that was finally beginning to feel like mine. Adrian involved my business. Sophia waited. I turned back toward the grill. Nobody threatens the tacos. A laugh escaped her. Then her phone buzzed. One message. No sender name. A photograph filled the screen. It showed Sophia and me laughing beside the folding table that morning. Beneath it were 6 words. Stay away from him or else. Her smile vanished. I took the phone from her. The number was blocked. The photograph had been taken from the end of the street. Adrian knew she'd found the secret. He knew she'd chosen to help me. And now he was no longer trying to frighten only me. I looked toward the road. The black sedan was gone. But whoever had been watching us would return. Sophia reached for her phone. I didn't give it back. What are you doing? Calling your driver. I can take care of myself. I know. Then give me the phone. No. Her eyes narrowed. You're ordering me around now. I'm making a practical suggestion. By stealing my phone. Temporarily relocating it. She stepped closer. Give it back. No. Sophia reached for it. I raised my arm. She glared at me. I was taller. For once, poverty offered a strategic advantage. That is incredibly childish. Correct. If you drop it, you're buying me a new one. I looked at the expensive device. Then carefully lowered my arm. Let's not say things we don't mean. She snatched it back. Our hands brushed. Both of us froze. Only for a second. Then she stepped away. I'll call my driver, she said. Good. And tomorrow we find Marcus Grant. Fine. This doesn't mean I need your protection. I know. Then why are you looking at me like that? I didn't know how I was looking at her. So I gave the safest answer. You have sauce on your blouse. Sophia looked down. She did not have sauce on her blouse. By the time she realized it, I had already retreated inside the truck. Noah. I closed the service window. It wasn't soundproof. A tragic construction flaw. She knocked on the glass. Open this. We're closed. There are customers standing right there. Private event. She continued knocking. The customers watched with interest. The old man took another bite of his taco. Then he looked at me through the other window. Definitely your girlfriend. I pointed at the exit. Leave. He smiled. No. Outside, Sophia was still demanding I open the window. For the first time since buying the truck, I almost felt happy. Not safe. Not yet. Not completely. But something close. Something fragile. Something I knew better than to trust. Across the city, Adrian Mercer sat alone in his private office, staring at the photographs on his computer. One showed Sophia laughing with me. Another showed her sitting beside me on the truck step. A third showed me handing her breakfast. Adrian enlarged that one. His expression became colder with every second. He had spent years convincing the world that I wanted his life. His family. His position. His fiancée. He had never imagined the possibility that I wanted none of them. He had never imagined something worse. That Sophia might look at my small, broken life and choose to enter it willingly. Adrian picked up his phone. Then called someone who had not heard from him in 6 months. When the man answered, Adrian spoke without greeting. Marcus Grant is becoming a problem. A rough voice replied. I thought you handled him. So did I. What do you want? Adrian looked at the photograph of Sophia and me. His fingers tightened around the phone. Find him before they do. Marcus Grant was either hiding from the Mercer family or from his landlord. Based on his address, both seemed reasonable. The former head of estate security lived in a town called Bellwether, 3 hours north of the city. His house stood beside a lake at the end of a road that did not appear interested in being a road. It was mostly mud, occasionally gravel. Once inexplicably, a family of ducks. Sophia stopped her car in the middle of the path. The ducks stared at us through the windshield. She stared back. Nobody moved. I looked at her. Are we negotiating? They're blocking the road. They're 6 inches tall. 7 at least. Should I get out and reason with them? Don't be ridiculous. One of the ducks sat down. Sophia tightened her grip on the steering wheel. I covered my mouth. She turned toward me. Don't laugh. I'm not. You are. I'm trying to respect the seriousness of the situation. Another duck sat down. The remaining 3 began cleaning themselves. Sophia closed her eyes. This is deliberate. Adrian has recruited them. He would. I glanced at her. The answer had come too quickly. She noticed it too. Her expression changed. Not dramatically. Just enough for the humor to fade. Until recently, Sophia would have defended Adrian automatically. Now she believed him capable of organizing criminal waterfowl. Progress came in unexpected forms. I opened my door. Where are you going? To negotiate. Noah. Remain calm. I've dealt with difficult customers. They're ducks. Some of my customers are worse. I stepped onto the road. The ducks watched me approach. I clapped twice. Nothing happened. I waved my arms. One duck opened its beak and made an angry noise. I looked back at Sophia. Negotiations have broken down. Her mouth twitched. Do something. I am. You are standing there. My presence is applying pressure. Sophia pressed the horn. The ducks exploded into motion. So did I. For one humiliating second, wings, feathers, and offended quacking surrounded my head. I stumbled backward into the mud. The ducks fled toward the lake. A long silence followed. Sophia lowered the window. Mud covered one side of my trousers. A small white feather had attached itself to my hair. She stared at me. I stared back. Then she began laughing. Not her polite society laugh. The real one. The kind she tried to suppress and couldn't. I wiped mud from my sleeve. I'm pleased my suffering brings you joy. I'm sorry. She was not sorry. They attacked without warning. You frightened them. They controlled the road. They were ducks. Criminal ducks. Sophia laughed harder. I got back into the car. She took one look at the feather in my hair and nearly lost control again. Drive. I'm trying. Marcus may be in danger. I know. Then stop laughing. You still have a feather. I removed it and placed it on the dashboard. Evidence. That made everything worse. It took another 2 minutes before she could drive safely. Our morning had started at 6:45. Sophia had insisted we leave early. I had insisted 6:45 was not a real time. It was a punishment invented by successful people. She arrived outside my apartment wearing dark trousers, practical shoes, and a cream-colored jacket that probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. I opened the door wearing one sock. Her eyes traveled down to my bare foot. We agreed on 7. I looked at the clock. It's 6:47. You aren't dressed. I am partially dressed. We have a 3-hour drive. The town will still be there at 8. Marcus might not be. That ended the argument. 12 minutes later, I was standing beside her car with a backpack and 2 cups of coffee. She checked her watch. "You're late." "By 23 seconds. Late is late." I handed her a cup. She took a cautious sip. "No sugar." I remembered. Something warm appeared in her expression. I ruined it before it could become dangerous. Also, I ran out. The warmth disappeared. Much safer. Now, 3 hours and 1 duck-related ambush later, we finally reached Marcus Grant's home. It was a small wooden house beside the water. The porch leaned slightly to one side. Wind chimes hung above the door. A faded pickup truck stood in the driveway. Sophia parked behind it. Neither of us immediately got out. The front door was partially open. A newspaper lay in the grass. The pickup's driver's side door was open too. Sophia looked at me. "Do you think he left in a hurry? Maybe he doesn't believe in closing things." "Noah, I see it." Something was wrong. The morning air was still. No television played inside. No footsteps crossed the porch. No movement appeared behind the windows. Sophia reached for her phone. "I'll call the police." "Not yet." "Why?" "Because we don't know if anything happened. The door is open. Maybe Marcus was raised in a trusting community. There is blood on the porch." I looked closer. A dark red smear marked the wooden step. "That changes the calculation." Sophia stared at me. "That's all you have to say? What would you prefer?" "Concern." "I am concerned." "You don't look concerned." "I have a subtle face." "You made 3 jokes about ducks." "The ducks were suspicious." She called emergency services. I opened the car door. Sophia grabbed my sleeve. "Where are you going?" "To see whether he's inside." "The police are coming." "What if he needs help now?" "You aren't trained for this." I watched half a first aid video. Half. An advertisement interrupted it. "You are staying here." I looked at her hand on my sleeve. She released me. "You called the police," I said. "Wait in the car and lock the doors." "No." "Sophia, if you're going inside, so am I. That defeats the purpose of waiting safely in the car. Then neither of us goes." I looked toward the blood on the porch. A faint sound came from inside the house. A scrape. Then a groan. Sophia heard it too. Her face changed. I reached into the back seat and picked up the first weapon I saw. A heavy flashlight. Sophia removed the compact tire iron from the emergency compartment. I stared at her. She stared back. "Your grandfather taught you that too. He believed every Lancaster should know how to repair a car and defend one. Your childhood sounds intense. Move." She walked toward the house. Apparently, I was no longer leading the rescue mission. The front room had been torn apart. Drawers lay open. Books covered the floor. A smashed computer sat beside an overturned desk. Whoever entered the house hadn't been searching for money. A television remained mounted on the wall. A silver watch sat untouched near the fireplace. They had wanted information. "Mr. Grant," Sophia called. No answer. I touched her arm and pointed toward the hallway. A thin trail of blood disappeared around the corner. Sophia held the tire iron more tightly. We moved through the house. The kitchen was empty. The back door stood open. A ceramic bowl had shattered across the floor. Then something moved inside the pantry. Sophia raised the tire iron. I lifted the flashlight. The pantry door slowly opened. Marcus Grant stumbled out. His face was covered in blood. One eye was swollen shut. A length of rope hung from one wrist. He saw us and immediately tried to retreat. "No." His voice cracked. "No, stay away." "Mr. Grant," Sophia said, "we're here to help." His good eye focused on her. Then on me. Recognition passed across his face. "Noah." "Yes." Marcus stared as though he'd seen a ghost. "You're not supposed to be here." I glanced around his ruined kitchen. "That appears to be a popular opinion." Sophia lowered the tire iron. "We called an ambulance." Fear sharpened Marcus's expression. "No ambulance. You need medical attention." "They'll find me." "Who?" He looked toward the back door. "Lock it." I crossed the kitchen and did so. Sophia guided Marcus toward a chair. He nearly collapsed before reaching it. I caught one arm. Sophia caught the other. Together, we lowered him into the seat. "Who attacked you?" I asked. "Two men." "Did Adrian send them?" Marcus didn't answer. He kept looking at the windows. Sophia picked up a clean cloth and pressed it gently against the cut near his temple. "We found the reports you wrote about the Mercer security footage." His breathing changed. "They should have destroyed those." "They didn't." "Where are they?" "Somewhere safe." This was technically true. The photographs were stored on Sophia's phone. Her phone was inside her purse. Her purse was sitting on the kitchen counter. The counter was not actively on fire. "Safe enough." Marcus grabbed my wrist. "They know you're looking." "We suspected that." "No, you don't understand." His voice was weak, but the fear inside it wasn't. "Adrian knows exactly what you found." "How?" "Because your mother told him." The room went still. I looked at Sophia. She looked equally confused. "My mother. Mrs. Mercer. Why would she tell Adrian?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "Because she always tells Adrian." Sophia removed the bloodied cloth and replaced it. "Mrs. Mercer showed me the storage room." "No, she didn't." "I found her there." "That doesn't mean she showed it to you." Marcus leaned back, breathing hard. The door was never accidentally left open. The meaning reached Sophia first. Her hand stopped. She wanted me to find the boxes. Marcus nodded. She couldn't confront Adrian herself. My stomach tightened. So she used Sophia. She hoped Miss Lancaster would ask questions. "Why?" "Because nobody suspects the bride." Sophia's face hardened. "I am no longer his bride." Marcus looked at her sharply. "You ended the engagement last night." "Then you're in more danger than I thought." "Why?" "Because the marriage was never only about the alliance." Before he could explain, the sound of an engine came from outside. Marcus turned white. "Get down." We moved at the same time. I pulled Sophia behind the kitchen counter. Marcus slid from the chair, hiding beneath the window. A black SUV stopped beside the porch. The house fell silent. I looked toward the knife block on the counter. Sophia followed my gaze. She shook her head. Apparently, she objected to my cooking-related defense plan. Footsteps crossed the gravel. One person. Maybe two. The porch creaked. Sophia held her tire iron against her chest. I aimed the flashlight toward the doorway. The front door opened. A man's voice called out. "Mr. Grant." Sophia whispered, "Police." I didn't move. The man entered the hallway. "Bellwether Police Department." Marcus slowly raised his head. "You called them?" Sophia nodded. He closed his eyes. For a moment he looked relieved. Then he looked toward the pantry. "Help me up." "You should stay still," Sophia said. "The evidence." "What evidence?" Marcus pointed toward the pantry. Behind the shelves. The police found 2 sets of footprints outside the house. One belonged to Marcus. The others appeared to belong to the men who attacked him. His laptop had been destroyed. His filing cabinets had been emptied. His backup drives were gone. At least the attackers thought they were. Behind the pantry shelves was a narrow opening. Inside it sat an old metal box. Marcus refused to let the police open it. He insisted the contents were unrelated to the attack. The officer did not believe him. Sophia made one phone call. 10 minutes later, a Lancaster attorney contacted the department and explained that the box contained sensitive corporate records relevant to possible civil litigation. The officer still didn't look happy. But money had apparently translated the word no into perhaps. Marcus was loaded into an ambulance. Before leaving, he gripped my hand. "Don't trust the timestamps." "What?" "The security videos. Adrian altered the dates." "Why?" "To hide how early it started." The paramedic tried to move him. Marcus held on. "The first recording matters. Find the first one." Then the ambulance doors closed. Sophia and I stood beside the house. The metal box rested on the hood of her car. Neither of us touched it. "Your mother wanted me to find the storage room," she said. "According to Marcus." "Do you believe him?" "I don't know. She could have simply told me. Mrs. Mercer has never done anything simply." Sophia looked at me. "She kept your awards. She forgot my birthday. She saved your notebook. She stored it beside broken furniture. She knew Adrian had been framing you." That one hurt. I hid it with a shrug. "Maybe. If she knew, why didn't she defend you?" "Because that would have required admitting she was wrong." Sophia rested one hand on the metal box. "And now?" "Now she can let you expose him instead." "So Adrian blames me, not her." "Efficient." Sophia's jaw tightened. She hated being manipulated. I almost felt sorry for my mother. Almost. "Let's open it," I said. The box contained 4 flash drives, a folder of printed reports, and a sealed envelope with my name written on it. Not Noah Mercer. Noah Hale. The name I'd used before finding the family. The sight of it unsettled me. Sophia noticed. "Do you want me to open it?" "No." My answer came too quickly. I picked up the envelope. The paper had yellowed slightly around the edges. It had been sealed years ago. I opened it. Inside was a letter from Marcus. The date was 6 months after I arrived at the Mercer estate. "Noah, if you are reading this, I either failed to protect the records or waited too long to tell the truth. Adrian did not begin framing you after you came home. He began preparing before you arrived." My eyes stopped on that sentence. Sophia moved closer, but didn't read over my shoulder. She waited. I continued. 3 months before the Mercer family announced that you had been found, Adrian requested access to the estate security archives. He claimed he was making a family documentary for your mother's birthday. That was a lie. He searched for records of private investigators, adoption agencies, and orphanages. He already knew who you were. Sophia whispered, 3 months before. I read the next paragraph. When I confronted him, he said the family had received a blackmail demand from someone claiming to know the location of the biological heir. He begged me not to tell his parents. I believed he was frightened of losing his family. I helped him. That was my first mistake. The wind moved across the lake. Pages rustled inside the folder. I read further. Adrian asked me to remove several recordings. I refused. Days later, Mrs. Price entered the security room using an access card registered to your father. I reported it to Mr. Mercer. He told me to forget what I saw. Sophia looked toward me. Your father knew Mrs. Price was altering the footage. Looks that way. The final paragraph was shorter. The truth is not hidden in the incidents after Noah returned. It is hidden in the footage from the night the Mercer family learned where he was. Start there. Do not trust Adrian. Do not trust Mrs. Price. Most importantly, do not trust the person who hired the investigators. The letter ended without a signature. I lowered it. Sophia looked through the drives. Each was marked with a year. The oldest was from 3 years before I came home. Which person hired the investigators? She asked. My father, supposedly. Marcus wouldn't have written it like that if it were your father. Maybe my mother. Or Adrian. He would have been 17. He was already accessing security records. I looked at the drives. What did he know? Sophia selected the oldest one. We're going to find out. We drove to a small motel in Bellwether because Marcus's house had become a crime scene, and Sophia refused to open the files on a public computer. The motel had 8 rooms, a flickering sign, and a receptionist who looked personally offended by our arrival. She glanced at Sophia's clothes, then at the mud on mine, then at the single-room key remaining on the board. 1 room. No, Sophia and I said simultaneously. The receptionist looked at the empty board. 1 room. 2 beds, Sophia asked. 1. I looked toward the parking lot. We can work inside the car. It's starting to rain, Sophia said. We've survived worse. Your trousers are covered in mud. The mud has dried. That does not improve the situation. The receptionist pushed the key across the counter. Take it or leave it. Sophia took it. I stared at her. She lifted an eyebrow. We need somewhere secure to view the files. Of course. Don't make this strange. I wasn't planning to. You have that expression. What expression? The one you make before saying something irritating. I picked up my backpack. Our relationship has reached the sharing a motel room stage surprisingly quickly. Sophia closed her eyes. There it is. The receptionist watched us walk away. Newlyweds. No, we said together. She looked unconvinced. The room contained 1 bed, 1 chair, and a painting of a boat that seemed to be sinking. Sophia placed her laptop on the desk. I took the chair. She sat on the edge of the bed. Comfortable? I asked. Perfectly. The bed made a sound. It's an old mattress. I think it asked for help. Noah. I'm focusing. She inserted the oldest flash drive. Folders appeared on the screen. Most had dates. One was titled NH Location Confirmed. My initials. Sophia opened it. The first file contained photographs. I recognized the place immediately. A small apartment building near the city bus terminal. I had lived there at 17. The photographs showed me leaving for school. Working behind a grocery store. carrying bags home, sitting alone at a bus stop. Someone had followed me for weeks. My chest tightened. Sophia clicked the next file. A private investigator's report appeared. Subject identified as Noah Hale. Age 17. Biological relationship highly probable. DNA confirmation recommended. At the bottom of the page was the client's name. Not Mr. Mercer. Not Mrs. Mercer. Not Adrian. Client Evelyn Price. Sophia leaned closer. Mrs. Price found you. Apparently. Then why wait 3 years before bringing you home? I didn't answer. She opened another document. A laboratory report. My name appeared beside a case number. The results confirmed a biological relationship to a member of the Mercer family. The sample used for comparison belonged to Victoria Mercer. My mother. The test had been completed 2 years before the family claimed they knew I existed. Sophia went very still. They knew. Mrs. Price knew. She had your mother's DNA. In access to the house. Sophia scrolled lower. A handwritten note had been scanned beneath the results. Only one sentence. Do not inform Victoria until Adrian is secured. Secured how? I asked. Sophia's face slowly lost color. The marriage alliance. I looked at her. She opened a second folder. This one contained financial documents from Lancaster Holdings. Old proposals. Projected mergers. Marriage contracts. The engagement between Sophia and Adrian had been negotiated almost 2 years before I arrived at the Mercer estate. At the time, Adrian's position as heir had not been legally confirmed. The contracts required the marriage to involve the recognized Mercer successor. If I had appeared before the agreement was finalized, the Lancaster family might have demanded new terms. Or a different groom. Sophia stood suddenly. They hid you until the engagement was secure. Looks that way. Adrian knew you existed. Yes. Mrs. Price knew. Yes. Your father may have known. Probably. The room felt smaller. Sophia paced beside the bed. They left you alone for 2 years because bringing you home threatened a business deal. I survived. That doesn't make it acceptable. I didn't say it did. You were 17. I know. You were working, attending school and living alone while they watched you. I know. Stop saying that. Her voice broke. I looked at her. Sophia's eyes shone with furious tears. Not pity. Anger. Somehow that was harder to endure. I turned back toward the computer. We need to see the video Marcus mentioned. Sophia wiped her eyes. Then sat beside the laptop again. We searched the oldest drive. At the bottom was a folder labeled First Contact. Inside it was one security recording. The timestamp placed it 2 years before I arrived at the estate. The camera showed the private study inside the Mercer mansion. Mrs. Price stood near the desk. Adrian sat opposite of her. He looked young. Frightened. A third person entered the room. Mrs. Mercer. My mother. Sophia and I exchanged a glance. The recording had no sound. Mrs. Price placed the investigator's report on the desk. My mother read it, then covered her mouth. For several seconds, she appeared unable to move. Adrian began crying. She immediately crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. Mrs. Price said something. My mother looked back at the report, then at Adrian. Then she pushed the photographs of me away. Sophia whispered she knew. I said nothing. On screen, my mother took out her phone. She made a call. A few minutes later, Mr. Mercer entered. He read the report. His expression didn't change. Adrian stood. My father embraced him. Neither parent touched the photographs again. Mrs. Price collected them. The recording ended. There it was. No misunderstanding. No delayed investigation. No family desperately searching for a lost child. They had found me. They knew where I lived. They knew I was alone. And they had chosen to leave me there. Sophia reached for my hand. I moved it before she could. Not because I blamed her. Because if she touched me, something inside me might collapse. I stood. The room seemed too warm. Too narrow. I need air. Noah. I'll be outside. She followed me. Of course she did. Rain fell over the motel parking lot. I stood beneath the overhang, watching water pour from the roof. Sophia stopped beside me. For once she didn't speak. I appreciated the silence. Eventually I laughed. The sound surprised both of us. Sophia looked toward me. What? The suitcase. She waited. When they threw me out, the butler said I'd already embarrassed my father enough. I watched rain gather in the cracks of the pavement. But he'd known about me for years. Sophia's jaw tightened. None of this was your fault. Apparently, my existence was inconvenient. That isn't the same thing. It was to them. She stepped closer. You are not an inconvenience. Careful, the truck would disagree. I'm serious. So am I. It has broken down 8 times. Sophia took my face between her hands. The movement was so sudden, I forgot the joke I planned to make. Listen to me. Rain blew beneath the overhang. A drop landed on her cheek. You did nothing wrong by coming home, she said. You did nothing wrong by wanting them to love you. I tried looking away. She wouldn't let me. They failed you. Adrian failed you. Your parents failed you. Sophia, you don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt. That was the sentence I couldn't tolerate. I stepped back. Her hands fell away. I'm not pretending. You joke whenever something hurts. I also joke when things are funny. Were those videos funny? No. Then stop running from this. My anger arrived quickly. Unfairly. I survived without them. I know. I built something without them. I know. I don't need you feeling sorry for me. I don't. Then what do you want? The question came out sharper than I intended. Sophia flinched. Regret hit me immediately. But she didn't retreat. She looked directly at me. You. One word. Quiet. Certain. Far more frightening than any accusation. I stared at her. Sophia continued. Not because you're the biological heir, not because Adrian lied, and not because I feel guilty. I couldn't breathe properly. I want the man who argues with appliances, the man who makes jokes when he's terrified, the man who thinks feeding people is more important than impressing them. Sophia, you asked. I shouldn't have. No, you should have asked sooner. She stepped toward me. I stepped back. The wall stopped me. An unfortunate architectural betrayal. Sophia's eyes dropped briefly to my mouth. Then lifted again. Everything inside me went still. Her phone rang. We both jumped. I had never hated technology more. Sophia answered. It was Rivera, the head of her security team. Sophia listened without interrupting. Her expression changed. What do you mean he disappeared? I straightened. She put the call on speaker. Rivera's voice filled the rain-soaked silence. Marcus Grant never arrived at the hospital. Sophia looked at me. The ambulance left his property 20 minutes ago. It was intercepted on the county highway, Rivera said. The driver and paramedic were found restrained inside. Grant is missing. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. It contained a photograph of Marcus sitting inside a dark room. His hands were tied. Someone stood behind him. Only the person's torso was visible. They wore a Mercer security uniform. Beneath the image was a message. Bring the original drives to the Sterling Street warehouse by midnight. Come alone. Sophia read it. No. I didn't say anything. You were thinking about going. They want the drives. They may kill Marcus even if you give them up. Then we don't give them the drives. What are you planning? Nothing. Her eyes narrowed. Whenever you say nothing, I know you're about to do something reckless. That's unfair. It's consistently accurate. Another message arrived. This one contained a short video. Marcus lifted his head. His swollen eye barely opened. A voice behind the camera asked him a question. Tell Noah who ordered the investigation. Marcus looked at the camera. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then his lips moved. His mother. The video ended. Sophia stared at the screen. Mrs. Mercer hired the investigator. Maybe. But the documents named Mrs. Price. One of them is lying. Or both. A third message appeared. Victoria Mercer has been lying from the beginning. Ask her why Noah had to remain missing until his 21st birthday. I read it twice. My 21st birthday was 6 weeks away. Sophia looked at the files displayed on her laptop. The engagement wasn't the only reason they hid you. No. Something happens when you turn 21. An inheritance. Control of the family trust, perhaps. Adrian is older. By 11 months. I looked at her. Sophia understood at the same moment I did. Adrian had been raised as the heir. But if the trust followed blood rather than birth certificates, his position might disappear the moment I turned 21. The family hadn't brought me home out of love. They'd brought me home because they needed control over me before the deadline. Every insult, every accusation, every effort to make me appear unstable and untrustworthy. It hadn't been random cruelty. They were building a case. A legal one. Sophia's voice dropped. They wanted you discredited before the trust transferred. And they succeeded. No. I looked at her. They threw me out. I have no position, no resources. The entire family believes I'm dangerous. Sophia took my hand. They haven't succeeded yet. Why? Her grip tightened. Because they forgot one thing. What? You aren't alone anymore. From the motel room, the laptop made a notification sound. A new file appeared on the screen. Neither of us had downloaded it. Someone was remotely accessing the computer. Sophia and I rushed inside. The folders began disappearing. One after another. Someone was deleting the evidence. Sophia disconnected the laptop from the motel's internet. The deletion stopped. 3 folders remained. The first contained the security footage. The second contained the trust documents. The third had not been there before. Its title was a single name. Sophia Lancaster. Sophia opened it. Inside were photographs. Hundreds of them. Photographs of her leaving school, attending family events, meeting Adrian, visiting the Mercer estate. Someone had watched her for years. The final photograph had been taken that morning. It showed us inside her car, stopped behind the ducks. Sophia's face lost all color. They followed us here. A floorboard creaked outside the room. I closed the laptop. The doorknob slowly turned, then stopped. Sophia backed away. I reached for the tire iron. A small white envelope slid beneath the door. Footsteps retreated along the walkway. We waited. 10 seconds. 20. 30. I opened the door. The walkway was empty. Rain hammered the parking lot. A dark vehicle disappeared onto the main road. Sophia picked up the envelope. My name was written across the front. Inside was an old photograph. It showed Mrs. Mercer in a hospital bed, holding a newborn. My father stood beside her. Mrs. Price was in the background. There were 2 bassinets in the room. Not one. A handwritten note covered the back. You were told one child was switched. That was the first lie. Sophia looked at me. I turned the photograph over again. 2 bassinets. 2 newborns. 3 adults who had spent years hiding what happened inside that hospital room. At the bottom of the note was one final sentence. Ask Victoria what happened to your twin brother. There are several reasonable ways to react after learning you might have a secret twin brother. You could experience shock. You could demand answers. You could dramatically confront your parents in the middle of a thunderstorm. I made instant noodles. Sophia stood near the motel desk, staring at me as I filled the electric kettle. What are you doing? Preparing dinner. You just learned you have a twin. Allegedly. Marcus has been abducted. I'm aware. Someone followed us for 3 hours. Also aware. They broke into the laptop. Technically, they accessed it remotely. She stared at the paper cup in my hand. And you're making noodles. I haven't eaten since breakfast. You brought emergency tacos. They were intended for emergencies. Sophia gestured toward the photograph lying beside the laptop. The back still carried the same message. Ask Victoria what happened to your twin brother. I think this qualifies. I considered the argument. Then opened my backpack. Only 2 emergency tacos remained. I handed her one. She looked down at it. Is this cold? Extremely. How long has it been in your bag? That's an unnecessarily personal question. Noah. Since this morning. She inspected it carefully. The cheese has become part of the wrapper. It's evolving. I don't think food is supposed to evolve. Everything evolves if you believe in it. Sophia placed the taco on the desk. I'll take the noodles. That had been my plan. Never underestimate the strategic value of an unattractive meal. I made a second cup. For several minutes, we sat in silence while rain struck the motel window. The photograph remained between us. 2 bassinets. 2 babies. One mother who had known where I lived years before pretending to discover me. And now, apparently, a brother nobody had ever mentioned. Sophia lifted the photograph by its edges. Do you recognize the hospital? No. The room looks private. The Mercers could afford private. The date is handwritten in the corner. I looked. June 14. the day listed on my birth certificate. Adrian's official birthday was 11 months earlier. At least that was the birthday the Mercer family celebrated. They held elaborate parties every year. Ice sculptures, live music, hundreds of guests. On my 20th birthday, Mrs. Mercer sent a maid to ask whether I could prepare breakfast early because Adrian had an important meeting. The family hadn't forgotten the date. They had simply decided it didn't matter. I stirred my noodles. Sophia watched me. "What?" "Nothing." "You're doing the thing again." "What thing?" "The thing where you look completely calm, while obviously thinking something terrible." I was thinking about breakfast. Was it terrible breakfast? The eggs were overcooked. "Noah." I placed the fork down. "I don't know what you want me to say." "The truth." "The truth is that I don't remember having a twin." "You were a newborn." "Then my testimony would be unreliable." "Can you stop joking for 1 minute?" "Probably not." Sophia leaned back. She looked frustrated. "Not with me." "For me." That was somehow worse. I took another bite. The noodles were terrible. Possibly vindictive. "I spent 20 years believing I was alone," I said. "If I have a brother, where was he?" Sophia's expression softened. "I don't know." "Why wasn't he at the orphanage?" "I don't know." "Why did they bring me home and leave him hidden?" "I don't know." "Exactly." I looked at the photograph. It might be fake. The photograph appears old. Old photographs can be altered. The hospital records might confirm it. If the records still exist, we'll find them. I almost laughed. Sophia said things like that with complete confidence. We'll find them. We'll expose Adrian. We'll rescue Marcus. We'll face it together. As though wanting the truth badly enough guaranteed it would eventually surrender. I used to think that way. Then I moved into the Mercer estate. "We should focus on Marcus," I said. "We can do both. The message gives us until midnight." Sophia checked the time. 8:47. Just over 3 hours. The anonymous sender wanted the original drives delivered to the Sterling Street warehouse. We had 4 drives. One contained the investigators' records. Another held the altered security footage. The third contained documents related to the Mercer family trust. The fourth had not opened. Its files were encrypted. If the abductors needed the physical drives, they couldn't be certain we'd copied everything. That gave us leverage. Not much, but enough to make the situation dangerous. Sophia pushed her noodles away. "We call the police." "Agreed." She blinked. "You're agreeing." "Don't sound disappointed." I expected an argument. "I can provide one if it would make you more comfortable." "No, thank you." "We contact the detective assigned to Marcus's attack," I said, "but we don't surrender the real drives. We give them copies. Copies with tracking software." Sophia studied me. "Do you know how to install tracking software?" "No." "Then who does?" I picked up my phone. "The man who repaired my card reader." Her expression flattened. "Your taco truck technician. He has diverse interests." "Is he trustworthy?" "He accepted payment in tacos for 2 months." "That doesn't answer the question." "He has never stolen my identity." "That you know of." "Trust requires a little optimism." Sophia looked at me. "You refuse to trust your own family, but you trust a man because he repaired a card reader." The card reader has never accused me of stealing. Your standards are upsetting. They're practical. I called him. Jaden Cho answered immediately. The first thing he said was, "The card reader broke again, didn't it?" "No." "The receipt printer?" "No." "The freezer?" "Not recently." A pause. "Is the truck on fire?" "Not at the moment." "Then why are you calling?" "I need tracking software installed on 4 flash drives." A longer pause. Sophia moved closer to the phone. Jaden lowered his voice. "Is this illegal?" "Probably not." That wasn't confident. "No one has officially explained the law to me." I'm hanging up. Marcus Grant was kidnapped. Silence. Jaden knew Marcus. After the Mercer family threw me out, Marcus had quietly introduced me to several people who offered small jobs. He never said why. At the time, I assumed pity. Now I understood it was guilt. "What do you need?" Jaden asked. "We're at the Bellwether Lakeside Motel." "That's 3 hours away." "Drive quickly but legally." Sophia glanced at me. I ignored her. Jaden sighed. "I can remotely configure a tracking package. You'll need a clean computer and blank drives." "There is an electronics store in town," Sophia said. Jaden heard her. "Who's that?" "Sophia." Another silence. "Adrian's fiancée." "Former fiancée," Sophia said. The emphasis was impressive. Jaden made a sound that might have been surprise or delight. Then he asked the worst possible question. "Are you two together now?" "No," I said. "We're investigating a kidnapping," Sophia said at the same time. Jaden laughed. "That wasn't my question." "Send the software," I said. "You sound nervous." "I'm ending the call." "One more thing." "What?" Did Sophia finally try the spicy fish taco? Sophia leaned toward the phone. "Yes." Jaden sounded impressed. "And it was acceptable. She likes you." I ended the call. Sophia looked at me. "What did he mean by that?" "Nothing. He said I like you. He has poor judgment." Her gaze held mine. "Does he?" "Danger. Immediate danger." I stood and picked up my jacket. "We need blank drives." Sophia smiled. She knew exactly what I was doing. She allowed it anyway. For now. Bellwether's electronics store closed at 9. We arrived at 8:58. The teenage employee stood behind the counter with his backpack already on. His expression turned hostile when he saw us. "We're closed." "The sign says 9, Sophia replied. "It's basically 9. Sophia checked her watch. 1 minute and 43 seconds. The employee glanced toward me. I lifted both hands. "This is between you and her." Sophia walked to the display of flash drives. "We need 4. The employee sighed loudly. She selected the most expensive package available. "We also need a laptop." I stared at her. "A laptop?" Jaden said, "A clean computer." "We can buy a cheap one." "This is the cheap one." The price tag showed a number that could have paid my rent for several months. "Sophia." "What?" "That computer costs more than my truck." "Most computers cost more than your truck." The employee laughed. I looked at him. He became extremely interested in the cash register. "We don't need this one." Sophia placed the box on the counter. "It's secure." "It's unnecessary." "We are short on time." "I'll repay you." No. Then I'm not using it. Her eyes narrowed. I could buy this store if I wanted. I know. Then stop arguing over one laptop. The teenage employee slowly moved his backpack away from the counter. He had recognized the beginning of a domestic disagreement and was wisely seeking shelter. I don't want your money, I said. It's not for you, it's for Marcus. Fine, then Marcus can repay you. He was attacked and kidnapped. Once he recovers. Sophia stared at me for several seconds. Then she turned toward the employee. Add the extended warranty. I closed my eyes. Behind me the employee whispered, good call. Nobody had asked him. Jaden guided us through the setup over video chat. He wore a sweatshirt with a cartoon dumpling on the front. Sophia wore the expression of someone reconsidering all of her life choices. You're certain this will work? She asked. Jaden looked offended. I once tracked a stolen catering van through 3 states. Why was a catering van stolen? Family dispute. What kind of family dispute crosses 3 states? An interesting one. I leaned toward the laptop. Focus. Jaden uploaded a set of files. We'll duplicate the visible folders. Anyone who opens a protected document will trigger the beacon. Can they detect it? Sophia asked. Eventually. How long do we have? Depends how talented they are. And if they're talented, 5 minutes. If they aren't, they'll probably accidentally email Noah their home address. I nodded. That's the outcome we're hoping for. Sophia connected the first blank drive. While the files copied, I examined the original photograph again. Something bothered me. Not the second bassinet. Not the message. The people. My mother looked exhausted but alert. My father stood beside her. Mrs. Price remained in the background. No medical staff appeared. No blankets covered the second bassinet. I enlarged the image using the new laptop. The second baby was barely visible. A tiny hand. Part of a cheek. Around its wrist was a hospital identification band. The image wasn't clear enough to read the name. But the band was blue. Mine had supposedly been white. According to the orphanage records, I arrived without a hospital band. I zoomed farther. The image blurred. Sophia looked over my shoulder. What do you see? The bassinet. She leaned closer. Her hair brushed my cheek. I immediately forgot what a bassinet was. A deeply inconvenient reaction. Sophia pointed at the photograph. There's something attached to it. A card rested near the baby's head. Only 2 letters were legible. A.M. Adrian Mercer, she whispered. No. Those are his initials. Adrian was supposedly born 11 months earlier. Which means his birthday may be false. I looked at the photograph again. 2 babies. One was me. The other might have been Adrian. Not a separate replacement born to a nanny. My twin. The person raised in my place might not simply know about my brother. He might be my brother. Sophia reached the same conclusion. Adrian could be your twin. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because the alternative was reacting honestly. That would explain why everyone says we look nothing alike. You share some features. He looks like a luxury watch advertisement. You look alike around the eyes. I'd like a second opinion. Noah. Mrs. Price might be my biological mother. Then Victoria Mercer wouldn't be. Unless the note is lying. Or the babies weren't twins. Or one of them wasn't hers. or Adrian's official birthday was changed. I rubbed my forehead. This family's records require a diagram. Jaden, still visible on the screen, raised his hand. I could make one. We had forgotten he was there. Sophia looked toward the screen. How much did you hear? Enough to know the Mercer family needs therapy. Finish the drives, I said. Already done. 4 copied drives rested on the desk. Each appeared identical to the original. Jaden sent us the tracking credentials. If anyone opens them, you'll receive an alert. Thank you, Sophia said. Jaden smiled. You're welcome. Please convince Noah to replace the fryer before it kills someone. The fryer is fine. It screams when turned on. It has character. It has an electrical fault. Sophia nodded solemnly. I'll handle it. Traitors, I said. Jaden ended the call. At 9:35, we contacted Detective Lena Ortiz. She had been assigned to Marcus's assault and disappearance. Ortiz listened without interrupting as Sophia explained the anonymous messages, the warehouse demand, and the drives. She ordered us not to go near the warehouse. We agreed. Then she asked to speak with me privately. Sophia stepped outside the motel room. The moment the door closed, Ortiz's expression changed. Do you trust Miss Lancaster? Yes. The answer came automatically. That frightened me more than the question. Ortiz noticed. Completely. No. That's different from your first answer. I trust her intentions. Not her family. I don't trust most families. Fair. Ortiz opened a file. We investigated the photograph you received. Already. Miss Lancaster's attorney sent it to us. Of course he had. Preliminary examination suggests it is authentic. The photographic paper and processing method match the time period. So there were 2 babies. At least 2 bassinets. Can you identify the hospital? We believe it was St. Catherine's Private Medical Center. Believe. The hospital closed 18 years ago after a fire destroyed part of its records archive. Convenient. Suspiciously convenient. Did anyone investigate the fire? At the time, it was ruled an electrical accident. And now I know the Mercer Group purchased the empty property 6 months later. I leaned back. Who approved the purchase? Charles Mercer. My father. Ortiz continued. There's something else. Marcus didn't disappear randomly. The ambulance route was changed after the driver received instructions from a hospital administrator. Which hospital? Mercer Memorial. Naturally. The Mercers had donated enough money to place their name above the entrance. Even their charity required branding. Who gave the instruction? We're tracking the call, but the administrator claims the caller identified herself as Victoria Mercer. My mother. Yes. Was it her? We don't know. Mrs. Price could imitate her. Possible. Adrian could have arranged it. Also possible. Ortiz lowered her voice. That is why I need you to stay away from the warehouse. Someone is manufacturing evidence against multiple members of your family. That's practically a Mercer tradition. This isn't funny. No. It wasn't. Ortiz's eyes fixed on me. Your family has significant influence. That makes ordinary police work difficult. If we move too early, their attorneys will block us. If we move too late, Marcus may disappear permanently. What do you need? Time. We have until midnight. The deadline is intended to force you into making a mistake. Then let's make the mistake they expect. Ortiz went silent. I showed her the copied drives. The trackers activate when someone opens the files. You want to make the delivery. They asked me to come alone. No. We give them what they want and follow the signal. No. You need time, this buys it. I will not use a civilian as bait. I'm already bait. The words hung between us. I continued. They watched me before I knew they existed. They knew where I lived. They brought me into the estate. They framed me. Now they're using Marcus to draw me to a warehouse. I held her gaze. Whether you approve or not, I am the bait. Ortiz looked away from the screen. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she asked, "How quickly can you return to the city?" "Less than 3 hours. Do not drive recklessly." Sophia is driving. Ortiz frowned. Does she drive recklessly? She recently passed a minivan. I'll assume that means no. Correct. Keep your phone on. My team will meet you outside the city. She ended the call. Sophia opened the motel door immediately. You told her we would deliver the drives. You were listening. The walls are thin. You stepped outside. I stood beside the window. That's dishonest. It's efficient. A Mercer family trait. I didn't say it. Sophia entered and closed the door. You're not going alone. Ortiz will have officers nearby. You're still not going alone. They specifically asked for me. They also sent me hundreds of surveillance photographs. Which is exactly why you should stay away. She folded her arms. I ended my engagement. I am not surrendering my right to make decisions to another man. This isn't about controlling you. Then stop trying. It's about Marcus. No, it's about you deciding that your safety matters less than everyone else's. I looked toward the drives. If I don't go, Marcus could be hurt. And if you go, you could be. That's different. Why? I had no answer she would accept. Because nobody needed me. Because my absence wouldn't destroy a family. Because Marcus had tried to help me. Because Sophia deserved a life untouched by the Mercers. All of those answers were true. None of them were safe to say aloud. Sophia stepped closer. Why is it different? Because it is. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Her anger disappeared. What replaced it was worse. Pain. Do you think nobody would care if something happened to you? I looked away. Noah. We have to leave. She caught my hand. I could have pulled free. I didn't. You said you didn't want to be chosen as Adrian's replacement. My chest tightened. I remember. Good, because this has nothing to do with him. Sophia. I need you to understand that. She moved closer. I didn't end the engagement because Adrian lost his inheritance. I ended it before I knew about the trust. I didn't help you because you might become the heir. I didn't follow you here because I wanted an alliance with the correct Mercer son. I know. No, you don't. Her fingers tightened around mine. You keep waiting for me to change my mind. That was true. I gave her the closest thing to honesty I could manage. People usually do. Sophia's expression broke. Only for a moment. Then she lifted her chin. I won't. You can't promise that. I can promise what I choose today. Today isn't forever. No, but forever is built from days. I stared at her. She continued more softly. Let me have today. There are sentences designed to move people, speeches shaped by careful writers, declarations prepared under perfect conditions. Sophia's words weren't like that. They were simple, almost unfairly so. Let me have today. Not forever. Not a promise neither of us could guarantee. Just one day in which I didn't push her away because I was frightened of losing her tomorrow. I covered her hand with mine. Fine. She frowned. That was terribly unromantic. I'm new to this. Try again. I thought about it. You may have today. That sounds like a rental agreement. I'm doing my best. Her mouth twitched. Then she leaned forward and kissed my cheek. A quick warm touch. My brain stopped functioning. Sophia picked up her coat. Let's go. I remained still. She paused near the door. Are you coming? Eventually. What's wrong? Nothing. She smiled. Your face is red. The room is warm. It's freezing. I've developed a fever. How unfortunate. She walked out. I needed 30 seconds before following her. Possibly 40. We checked out shortly before 10. The receptionist looked at the room key. Then at us. Leaving already. We have a kidnapping, I said. Sophia closed her eyes. The receptionist's expression brightened with interest. You were kidnapped. No. You kidnapped someone. No. Then what does that mean? Nothing, Sophia said. He means nothing. I rarely mean nothing. Tonight you're making an exception. We reached the car. The rain had weakened to a fine mist. Sophia placed the original drives in a locked metal case. The copies stayed in my backpack. The photograph remained inside her purse. Before starting the engine, she looked at me. Do you think Adrian is your twin? I think Adrian lies professionally. That doesn't answer the question. No. You don't believe it. I don't want to. Sophia nodded slowly. Because of what he did. Because if he's my brother, some part of me will keep asking why. Why he hated you. No. I watched rain gather on the windshield. Why he never told me. She didn't offer an easy answer. That was one of the things I liked about her. Sophia didn't say Adrian might have been afraid. She didn't tell me blood obligated forgiveness. She didn't turn cruelty into a misunderstanding simply because we might share DNA. She started the car. We'll ask him. If he answers, we'll make him. That's ominous. I'm a Lancaster. The threat becomes less impressive each time you say it. No, it doesn't. She pulled onto the road. The ducks were gone, possibly reporting our movements to Adrian. At 10:48, the copied drives sent their first alert. Sophia nearly drove off the road when the laptop chimed. I opened the tracking program. One drive had been accessed. That was impossible. All 4 copies remained inside my backpack. I checked them. 1, 2, 3. I stopped. Only 3 were there. Sophia looked toward me. What's wrong? A drive is missing. When did you last see it? Inside the motel. The receptionist. Maybe. The person who slid the envelope under the door could have entered earlier. Or later. The alert showed a location. Not Bellwether. Not the city. The signal came from a vehicle traveling 20 miles behind us. Someone had planted a drive in our room. Or exchanged one of ours. Then followed us when we left. I turned in my seat. The road behind us was dark. Several sets of headlights moved through the rain. They're following us. Sophia reached for her phone. Call Ortiz. Before I could, the tracking location disappeared. Then returned. Closer. Much closer. The vehicle was accelerating. Sophia increased her speed. I looked at the map. They'll catch us in 3 minutes. She glanced toward the dashboard. We're 20 minutes from the highway. Can you lose them? Her eyes narrowed. You mocked my driving all morning. I've reconsidered. You questioned whether I could pass a minivan. I was young and foolish. That was 6 hours ago. I've grown. Sophia pressed the accelerator. The car surged forward. I reached for the handle above the door. She noticed. Are you frightened? Deeply. Good. The road curved through dense trees. Behind us, a black SUV passed 2 other vehicles and continued gaining. Sophia's expression remained calm. Her driving did not. She took the next turn at a speed I considered personally insulting. My shoulders struck the door. The emergency tacos slid beneath the seat. Careful. With the car or you? Both. The car has insurance. I tightened my seat belt. That answer was revealing. The SUV reached the turn. It followed. Sophia looked toward the navigation screen. A service road connects to the highway 5 miles ahead. Is it paved? No. Your car didn't enjoy the previous dirt road. My car will cope. Will you? She gave me a sharp smile. I'm evolving. She turned onto the service road. Mud sprayed behind us. Branches scraped both sides of the car. Each sound caused a small part of Sophia's soul to die. But she didn't slow down. The SUV followed. The tracking alert moved closer. 300 feet. 200. 100. Then another vehicle appeared ahead. A gray sedan blocked the road. Sophia hit the brakes. The car slid sideways before stopping. The SUV halted behind us. We were trapped. I took out my phone. No signal. Sophia reached into the center console and removed the tire iron. Your family really likes those, I said. It's useful. For changing tires. Sometimes. The sedan's doors opened. 2 men stepped out. Neither wore a mask. One was the stranger from the shipping yard photograph. The man Mr. Alvarez had described as looking like me. The impossible relative who had vanished before our investigation began. Only now I could see his face clearly. Mr. Alvarez had been right. The resemblance was unmistakable. Same height. Same eyes. Same jaw. But he wasn't Adrian. This was someone else. A third brother. Or the twin from the photograph. He stopped several feet from Sophia's car. Then raised both empty hands. Noah, I'm not here to hurt you. I lowered the window slightly. That's usually what people say immediately before hurting someone. The black SUV behind us opened. 2 men climbed out. The stranger glanced toward them. His expression changed. They aren't with me. That's reassuring. I'm serious. Get out of the car and come with me. Less reassuring. The men from the SUV began approaching. One reached inside his coat. The stranger shouted, "Now Noah." Sophia started the engine again. The road remained blocked. No room to turn. The stranger ran toward the passenger side. I lowered the window farther. Who are you? Your brother. Be more specific. His eyes widened in disbelief. This is not the time. Older, younger, secret, evil. Technically older. By how much? 7 minutes. Behind him, one of the men drew a weapon. The stranger ducked. Sophia reacted before I did. She pressed the accelerator and drove directly toward the gray sedan. I grabbed the dashboard. What are you doing? Making room. There isn't room. There will be. Her car struck the sedan's rear bumper. Metal scraped against metal. The sedan spun slightly, leaving a narrow gap near the trees. Sophia forced her car through it. Branches cracked against the windows. The stranger jumped aside. For 1 second, his eyes met mine. Then we passed him. Sophia reached the highway 20 seconds later. Her hands remained steady on the wheel. Mine did not. I looked back. The gray sedan blocked the service road. The stranger stood behind it, preventing the black SUV from following. Sophia called Detective Ortiz. I reopened the tracking map. The missing drive remained on the service road. We had left it behind with the men following us, which meant someone in the black SUV had carried it. They had stolen or exchanged it at the motel, then used its tracker to lure us into believing we were tracking them. A trap inside a trap. My family was becoming exhausting. Ortiz answered. I told her where we were. She ordered patrol units toward the service road. Then she asked whether we'd identified the stranger. He claims he's my brother. Sophia glanced at me. Ortiz went silent. Adrian. No, another one. How many brothers do you have? Apparently, they're being released in installments. Sophia almost laughed despite herself. Ortiz did not. Get to the highway checkpoint. Do not stop for anyone. She ended the call. Sophia slowed once we reached traffic. Her beautiful car was covered in mud and scratches. One side mirror hung at an angle. She looked at it. I waited. Her left eye twitched. Are you all right? Perfectly. The car may need emotional support. Don't. It was very brave. Noah. It protected us. If you make one more joke about the car, I will leave you at the checkpoint. I remained quiet. For nearly 12 seconds. Can I mention the ducks? No. I looked out the window. That was probably wise. A police checkpoint waited 10 miles ahead. Ortiz met us there. She took our statements and sent officers toward the service road. They found the black SUV abandoned. The tracking drive remained inside. No sign of the men. No sign of the stranger claiming to be my twin. But something had been left beneath the windshield wiper of the gray sedan. An envelope. Inside was a copy of my birth certificate. Not the orphanage version. An original hospital record. 2 live births were listed under Victoria Mercer. Both male. The first child was named Noah. The second was unnamed. Beside the second entry, someone had written one word. Deceased. Sophia read over Ortiz's shoulder. If he died, who was the man on the road? Ortiz turned the document over. A message had been written across the back. Victoria was told one baby died. She believed it for 17 years. Evelyn took him. Below that was a telephone number. Ortiz called it from a secured line. The stranger answered immediately. You found the record. Ortiz placed the call on speaker. Identify yourself. My name is Nathaniel Hale. My chest tightened. Hale? My surname. The name assigned to me at the orphanage. No family connection had ever been recorded. Yet this man carried it too. Why do you have Noah's surname? Ortiz asked. Because Evelyn gave us both that name. I moved closer. You said she took you. She took both of us. Sophia's hand found mine. Nathaniel continued. The plan was to sell one child back to Charles Mercer. He refused to pay. My grip tightened around the phone. So she left me at the orphanage. No. Nathaniel's voice changed. Softer. You weren't the child she meant to leave. Silence fell around us. Ortiz looked at me. I couldn't speak. Nathaniel continued. Evelyn marked the bassinets. Someone switched the identification bands before she took us from the hospital. Who? Marcus Grant. Sophia inhaled sharply. Marcus worked at the hospital. He was a junior security guard. Nathaniel's voice became bitter. He realized Evelyn planned to keep the Mercer baby she believed had the stronger claim, so he changed the bands. I stared at the birth record. Which one of us was supposed to become Adrian? Neither. That answer made no sense. Nathaniel continued before I could ask. Adrian isn't one of the babies from the hospital photograph. Sophia looked toward me. Then who is he? Evelyn's nephew. The entire night seemed to stop. Nathaniel spoke quietly. She placed him inside the Mercer family 2 years later. By then, Victoria was emotionally shattered. Charles was hiding what happened, and the family was desperate for a child. Adrian's official birthday is false, Sophia said. Everything about Adrian is false. I thought about the photograph. The blue identification band. The initials AM. Not Adrian Mercer. Something else. Who was my twin? I asked. Nathaniel was silent for a moment. Then he answered. I was. The word should have brought relief. It didn't. Too many things remained wrong. Why didn't Evelyn raise me too? Because Marcus changed the bands. Evelyn believed you were the child with no Mercer blood. She took me and abandoned you. But we're twins. Not according to the hospital paperwork she received. Sophia understood first. The babies were recorded under different names after the bands were switched. Yes, Nathaniel said. Evelyn believed Victoria had given birth to only one living son. She thought the second baby belonged to another patient. My head began to ache. Why contact us now? Because Marcus found me 6 months ago. Why didn't he tell me? He was trying to verify the records. And you? I wanted the trust. There it was. Finally, an honest motive. Sophia's fingers tightened around mine. Nathaniel didn't pretend. The Mercer trust transfers to Victoria's eldest biological son at age 21. I was born 7 minutes before you. So the money belongs to you. Legally, yes. Then why did you help us escape? Another silence. When Nathaniel spoke again, the confidence was gone. Because Evelyn took Marcus to keep him quiet. Adrian plans to destroy the trust records tonight. If he succeeds, none of us can prove anything. Where is Marcus? The Sterling Street warehouse. The original meeting location. Is he alive? Yes. How do you know? I'm inside. Ortiz straightened. How many people are there? 6 guards, Adrian, Evelyn, Marcus. And you? They think I'm helping. Why should we trust you? Sophia asked. You shouldn't. Nathaniel's answer came immediately. Trust the information, not me. A noise sounded behind him. A door opening. Nathaniel lowered his voice. "They're moving Marcus." "Where?" Ortiz asked. "Below the warehouse. There's an old records vault connected to the Mercer property." Footsteps approached his position. Nathaniel spoke quickly. "Do not bring the original drives. Evelyn already has copies. She wants Noah." My skin went cold. "Why?" "Because the trust has a morality clause." Sophia looked at me. "What kind of clause?" "If the heir is declared psychologically unstable, violent, or legally incompetent, control passes to the Mercer board." Every accusation suddenly took on a different shape. The stage theft. The destroyed property. Adrian's injuries. The stories about my jealousy and rage. They had not merely been turning my family against me. They had been constructing a legal record. Nathaniel continued. "Adrian spent 2 years creating evidence that Noah was dangerous. Tonight, Evelyn intends to finish it." "How?" A man's voice sounded through Nathaniel's phone. "Close. Suspicious." Nathaniel whispered one final sentence. "By making Noah look responsible for Marcus's disappearance." The call ended. Ortiz immediately ordered officers toward the warehouse. Sophia turned to me. "You're staying here." I almost smiled. "That sounds familiar." "This time I mean it." "You meant it before." "Evelyn wants you at the warehouse." "Which is why Marcus is there." "The police will rescue him." "If the police enter openly, Evelyn could move him." "Then what are you proposing?" I looked at the warehouse location on Ortiz's map. I had worked near Sterling Street. The Mercer Records vault wasn't beneath the warehouse itself. It connected to an old utility tunnel behind the property. A tunnel maintenance workers used before the shipping district was modernized. I knew because I had once spent an entire night cleaning floodwater from it. My father had called it valuable experience. For once he had been right. "I know another way inside." Ortiz shook her head. "No. I can lead your team through the utility tunnel." "No. You don't have building plans for the lower level." "We'll obtain them." "From Mercer Group." Ortiz's expression darkened. "Any request could alert Adrian." "We have less than 2 hours before midnight," I said. "Nathaniel believes they're moving Marcus." Sophia stepped between us. "If he goes, I go." "No," Ortiz and I said together. Sophia looked at me. "Let me have today." Unfair. Completely unfair. She had weaponized my own agreement. I considered objecting. Then I looked at her. At the woman who had ended her engagement before knowing I might inherit anything. Who had sat beside my broken truck. Who had chosen a terrible motel room because she refused to let me face the truth alone. I exhaled. "Fine." Ortiz rubbed her forehead. "You two are exhausting." "We've heard that," Sophia said. Ortiz looked from me to Sophia. Then toward the officers preparing their equipment. Finally, reluctantly, she handed me a protective vest. "You remain behind my team." "Agreed." "You follow every instruction." "Agreed." "You do not attempt anything reckless." I thought about the demolished service road, the abduction, the secret twin, and the 4-tracked flash drives. Define reckless. Ortiz took the vest back. I caught it before she could walk away. Understood. Sophia accepted another vest. As she fastened it, her hands began to tremble. Only slightly. I covered one with mine. She looked up. "You can stay here," I said. "So can you." "Fair." We go together. Together. The word still frightened me. But this time, I didn't run from it. Across the city, beneath the Sterling Street warehouse, Marcus Grant sat tied to a metal chair. A camera faced him. Adrian adjusted its angle. Mrs. Price placed several folders on a table. Inside were police reports, witness statements, psychiatric evaluations, and photographs from every incident they had staged against me. A complete history of a dangerous man who did not exist. Marcus looked at Adrian. You won't get away with this. Adrian smiled. His perfect public smile had returned. I already did. Mrs. Price checked the clock. 11:14. Will Noah come? Adrian glanced toward the security monitors. He always comes when someone needs saving. You sound certain. He spent his entire life begging people to need him. Marcus struggled against the restraints. You never understood him. Adrian's smile faded. I understand him better than anyone. One of the monitors flickered. For less than a second, the screen showed static. Then the image returned. Mrs. Price didn't notice. Neither did Adrian. In the utility tunnel beneath the property, Detective Ortiz lowered her signal device. The warehouse cameras were now looping old footage. Behind her, Sophia adjusted her vest. I looked toward the dark passage ahead. At the end of it waited Marcus. Adrian. Mrs. Price. Possibly Nathaniel. And the truth about why 2 babies had disappeared from a private hospital 21 years ago. Sophia reached for my hand. I took hers. Then we stepped into the darkness together. If you like a second part, please leave a comment.